angels, it's Hailey, Reese, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited that you are here, and I hope that you are having an absolutely fantastic morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you, when this video finally reaches you. You guys, I am so excited to share this case with you today because while it is deeply disturbing and absolutely terrifying, I have been thinking about it nonstop since I read into it, and I can't break down which theory of mine I believe to be most true. Like, there are so many things that could have occurred here, all of which are terrifying, but my brain can't seem to wrap around what actually happened. And I am so curious to hear all of your guys' theories down in the comment section below, because this is one of those unsolved things that just keeps you up at night, and especially would keep you up at night if it happened to you. It's terrifying. The other day, I was laying on the couch, it was a super snowy day, and I was digging through all of the different cases I want to cover, reading through my emails and DMs from you guys with all of your different experiences, and that's when I stumbled upon an email sent in from one of you guys that was to do with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and a potential home invasion or some crazy paranormal activity. It's very confusing. It will make sense in the end why I'm saying it's confusing, but it was bone chilling. From the moment that I started reading it, I could feel the fear in this person's email through the screen. Like, I could feel the energy from this person. So much so, this person would like to remain completely anonymous. They do not want anyone to know where they live or what their name is, because as I said, whoever did this is still at large. Whatever did this is still at large. And they're trying to move on from this traumatizing experience. So with that said, I'm going to call them the Jones family, and we're going to break down exactly what happened leading up to Christmas Eve and what the Jones family discovered after Christmas. So basically, the email started out by saying how afraid this individual was and how they felt like they've just been running from this experience for the past couple of years ever since it happened. They feel very violated, they feel very afraid, and it was, like I said, begging to please not share the personal information that they included for me to better understand the story. It then goes on to say that the Jones family lived in a relatively safe neighborhood. They did live in a little bit of a bigger city, so because of that, naturally crime does occur. I mean, crime occurs anywhere, let's be honest, but they were never afraid to, be within their homes at night. They were never afraid to walk the streets around their homes or walk to their car from the grocery store. And that plays a really big role in this because they said that they were very neighborly in her neighborhood. All of the neighbors knew one another, looked out for one another. For an example, their one neighbor would always look out for their packages. If packages came and they knew no one was home, they'd put them to the side of the house, and they would do the same for them. And it was just a really positive neighborly environment, which I also think is really important to keep in mind throughout this entire experience. But despite it being a relatively safe neighborhood, the Jones family noticed that leading up to this particular Christmas, there was a lot more petty crime going on within not just their neighborhood, but their city in general. People were stealing packages off of doorsteps more often. People were stealing from the stores more often. There was a lot more going on than they had seen in previous years. And this started to be a little bit concerning for them. Now, the Jones family had traditional Christmas plans that they would do every single year, and that was from December 23rd to December 26th. They would go up to a cabin in the mountains and just enjoy their time, kind of off the maps as a family, and enjoy the holidays together. So this year was no exception, and they were set to leave on the 23rd of December and return on the 26th of December. And this petty crime really started in the first week of December, but it would quickly pick up very fast. It would go from what was petty crime, which is stealing packages off of someone's doorstep or stealing from a convenience store, whatever the case may be, to actual attempted break-ins into cars and into homes. Now, I do want to note, this is actually really important just to remember, crime rates really do go up around Christmas time. There are a lot of people who are very desperate around the holidays, and it's scary. I was reading an article about that the other day, which is why when I started reading this, it really stuck with me. So I guess it was unusual for this neighborhood, but it's not particularly unusual for the month of December as a whole. So this became very concerning for the Jones family because homes in their neighborhood and cars in their neighborhood are now being broken into, and they're supposed to be leaving. So the father decided it might be a good idea to install a security system. They'd never had a security system prior to all of this because, as mentioned, they didn't really feel unsafe in their neighborhood. They thought locking the door would suffice. But because they were going to be leaving, he thought he would feel a lot more comfortable if there was an alarm system. So they had one installed, and they even went over to the neighbor and just mentioned, hey, you know, we're going away for our usual Christmas thing. If you notice anything, here's my number. Keep an eye on the house, and happy holidays. So the day quickly approaches, and the Jones family gets all packed up and ready to leave to go up to the cabin and spend their Christmas away from everyone. They pack their bags, they set their alarms, and they head to the cabin. Now, the unfortunate thing about this, though, was that once they got to the cabin, the father realized that he didn't have good enough service to be able to see the alarm system updates. Like, it was lagging, it wasn't working properly. Even their cell service was really in and out. Occasionally they would get a text or a phone call, but there really wasn't much going on. And this did concern the Jones family when they had first gotten there. They were a little bit concerned about the fact that they're off the grid, all these crimes are happening, and there's nothing to be done. But they found peace in the fact that their alarm would sound very loud if somebody tried to break in, that they had neighbors watching out for them, and that the police would deal with it, and he's sure at some point they would find a way to get a hold of them and let them know. So they decided not to let this ruin their Christmas. But one thing that's really interesting to note is that the girl who wrote me the email said her mom has always been a very, very intuitive and spiritual person. And about halfway through the second day, so it would have been Christmas Eve, she started to have these weird feelings, and she couldn't explain them. She didn't pinpoint them to being the house or to being break-ins or anything of the sorts. She just had an off feeling. But as Christmas Eve continued on, and the night continued, the feeling kind of slipped away, and they enjoyed their Christmas Eve, and they enjoyed their Christmas Day. On the 26th, the Jones family packed up their vehicle and went to head back to their house, and they were pleasantly surprised to see that it looked as though it was exactly how they left it, until they went inside. The Jones family unlocks their door, goes inside of their house, beep beep beeps their alarm, which was still on, and walks in to find their home not at all how they left it. There was what seemed like open Christmas gifts. There was Christmas wrapping paper all over the living room. There were dishes in the sink that weren't left there, food all over the counter that had been eaten, plates with food all over it. There was ransacked drawers. It looked like somebody had been going through the ransacked drawers. Their toothbrushes were missing. Their hairbrushes were missing. And even stranger, the mom's underwear drawer was open. Now, besides the toothbrushes and the hairbrushes, nothing of value was stolen. They didn't steal any jewelry, they didn't steal any luxury items, none of that. And in fact, there was keys to another car that they had in the driveway in their home, and they didn't even steal the car. The Joneses were incredibly confused by this entire thing. They obviously called the police. It was evident that they had cooked food from inside of their fridge. They went through their fridge and cooked and ate and did everything, and had some sort of Christmas celebration either on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, sometime between when the Joneses had left and the Joneses had returned. But guys, the alarm was still on, and the alarm had never sounded. The police had contacted the security company. They had no alerts on their end for any of the alarms sounding. It was as if nothing had ever happened. It was as if nobody had went into the home. But they all knew that they hadn't left their home like that. They hadn't left food out on the counter, or rummaged through the fridge, or looked through the drawers, or opened an underwear drawer and left it open. the missing toothbrushes. It was all so bizarre. The police even asked the neighbors if they had seen anything, to which they hadn't seen any unusual activity, nor had they heard the alarm system go off. And keep in mind, they had just gotten this alarm system, so nobody else besides the family knew their code. So how was there activity in their home like this when there was nobody who could have gotten in and there was no sounding of the alarm? I can't even wrap my mind around it. Like, imagine coming home from a vacation, your home has been visibly lived in, and you realize that the alarm was on and it never sounded, but you know that someone or something was in there. That gives me chills. But then it gets even creepier. When the two kids go up to their bedrooms, so keep in mind the parents were kind of looking through the house first. They had kept the kids downstairs because they didn't know if someone was still in the house, even though it didn't make sense how they would be. The parents went up and they noticed that the underwear drawer was open in the parents' room. Okay, they kind of peeked into all the rooms. They didn't notice anything different. But when the kids went up into their rooms, they realized that their beds had been slept in. The parents didn't notice that right away because it isn't always unusual for a teenager not to make their bed. I mean, you don't always make your bed. So they assumed that they'd left it that way, but both of the kids swore up and down that they had specifically made their beds before leaving. And they knew that they did because their mom had just washed the sheets and they thought, oh, when we get home, we're gonna be tired after everything. It'll be nice to climb into some fresh sheets. So they had made their bed. So it seemed like somebody or people had slept in those beds. I don't understand it. The police did everything that they could. They even went to all the neighboring houses to see if anybody had a camera pointing in the direction of their home, to which no luck. They weren't able to really pull anything of substance from the scene. I'm assuming they would have done fingerprints, but essentially from what I read, there was nothing that pulled up in any system, nothing that they could do. And to this day, they have no idea who or what was within their home, who took their toothbrushes and their hairbrushes, who slept in their beds and ate their food and opened gifts. And that's the weird part too, you guys. I forgot to mention this. She had said that when they saw like the wrapping paper all in the living room, that's when they knew something was really up, because they had brought every single Christmas present that they'd wrapped with them up to the cabin because that was where they were doing Christmas. They didn't leave any presents there. So who had presents and why were they opening them in their living room? They looked a little bit deeper to see if this could be, an animal or something. Like they're trying to wrap their heads around what happened. And that's when they also realized that the wrapping paper that was in the living room didn't match any of the wrapping paper that they had in their home. So it's not even like there's a raccoon in your house who rips a piece of wrapping paper and throws it in the living room. I don't know. But like that's just not even a theory either. So then they started to think, was this like poltergeist activity or paranormal activity? Because how would somebody have gotten in or out without the alarm sounding? So then my brain's trying to think when I reached the end of this, and that was basically the conclusion of all the different theories. And you guys know, Froggers came up into mind for me, which is where people essentially jump house to house and live within your home undetected. So that could have been that Froggers got in their house before they left, enjoyed it while they were gone, and then maybe were still in the house hiding when they came and unlocked it and snuck back out. But they said that they searched the whole house, that they looked absolutely everywhere and they didn't find anybody in the house. So I need to know what you guys think of this. I think if you really think about it, it is so disturbing. Like I would feel so violated as well if I came home and someone was like living in my space, stealing my toothbrush. That's a new level of icky. Like, who wants someone else's toothbrush? Gross. But either way, it would just feel so violating that all of your things, your entire life is in this house besides yourselves, and someone or something was in there messing with it. I need to know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this. Definitely let me know all of your theories. I'll be reading through them all night because, as I said, this has been blowing my mind. I cannot figure it out. If there wasn't an alarm system, I would feel differently. But how is the alarm system still working? Did someone else know the code, but they said nobody else could have? I'd love to know. But that is basically it for today's video. Once again, if you are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my content, I would seriously love it if you go ahead and click that subscribe button. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, to do all things with kindness. And just know that I love you so very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.